Welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us here today. Hope you're bundled up outside and snug as a bug in I don't know, a snowdrift someplace out there. It is my mailman got stuck trying to pull away from my house today because the wind had blown, all kinds of snow out there. It was starting to drift out by the road. So it was it's quite a day, quite a few days here in South Bend. How are you this day, Vince?
Oh, average at best, I would
I was
say.
going to say you don't look as good as I thought you were going to look. No
Well,
offense.
our friendship runs deep, and I couldn't leave you hanging 2 days in a row. So I'm gonna give it a shot. I almost went no camera. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
I almost went no camera. I look
Man.
like crap.
Oh, you don't look that bad.
But it's okay. It's okay. I'm upright. I
You
can
look
talk.
perfectly fine for someone who's peeled himself off his deathbed.
Rough few days in the D'Addario household, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's like the stuff has been going around, and Jesse went back to work today as well, and he might have been like the worst of all of us based on, I don't know if you ever heard any, like they were on a trip and they were coming back on the trip and they both got sick at the same time.
Yeah, I heard.
On the airplane. Oof. And so he was what would you call it? Trying to kneel to the porcelain god in the air. And you know how small the bathrooms are in the airplane, and
there's not a whole lot of kneeling going on in there.
He's a broad-shouldered man, so it was not to get too graphic with anybody, but it's quite an adventure, it sounded like.
So I don't have that issue. Mine is just a really bad head cold. You got the headache and the lights are too much and stuffed up, that kind of stuff. So it's all like, shoulders and up for me.
Yeah.
But still fairly miserable. So we'll see how the next hour and 23 minutes goes.
All right. Well, I appreciate you trying to brave it and stick it out with me here today. Mine has just been kind of, upset stomach and, that kind of stuff. So we've got a fairly short show here tonight. Notre Dame men's basketball at North Carolina tonight, presented by First State Bank, committed to being a premier financial partner with hometown values. So Notre Dame and North Carolina, the Fighting Irish and the Tar Heels, pregame show with Tony Simeone is at 6:30 Eastern time tonight. We've got a 7 o'clock tip-off, so we'll be done by 6:30 this evening. It's Mailbag Day. You ready to tackle some of these questions?
Might as well. Let's roll, baby.
Maybe it'll get you distracted.
That's the hope.
I'm hoping so. Joe says, we all know that Marty Biaggi is great at creating special teams plays. Level of 1 to 10, what is your confidence that Biaggi can actually develop a kicker? Right up Vince's alley here.
I was going to say, you're just coming out of the box swinging on this one. Holy cow. Well, okay, so we know that Notre Dame just got another kicker, an actual high school kid. He was committed to Michigan, signed a letter of intent, got out of his letter of intent, now is coming to Notre Dame. Was able to do that because of the coaching change and all the nonsense that was going on north of the border. It is an interesting scenario for me, and I know the boys talked about the kicker in the show earlier today. I didn't get a chance to catch exactly what they were saying about him. I talked to Brian about it last night, and, of course, I did my research, as I always do when it comes to specialists, and this is an odd pickup for me. It feels like they went out and got Eric Schmidt 2.0, which what that means is
he does both. Just like, but I think don't a lot of high school kickers do both punt and kick in high school?
Yes and no. I mean, some of them do both just because that's what they have to do at their high school level, but are they actually good at it is another conversation.
Well, yeah, but I mean, most of them are doing double duties. Yeah, like, are they rated in both?
Right.
Yeah, that's a separate
category. Right. So he's got a big leg. He can kick at 80+ kickoffs down both hashes. I mean, the kid's got a big leg. There's no doubt about that. He hit the contact that he has on the ball isn't great, which therefore means he's not super accurate when it comes to place kicking. but he's got a big leg, so he can kick off and he can punt. Does that sound familiar to you? Sounds like Eric Schmidt.
Yeah, it does.
Like, I guess I don't understand. Now they went out and got Spencer Porath from Purdue, and he's a legitimate place kicker. So I think they're going to be fine in the place kicking, arena. But
I was a little, like you're answering a separate question. You're breaking down the kicker himself.
This is true.
Joe is asking, what's your
two?
What's your confidence Biaggi can actually develop him? I'm a bit higher than that. I think I'm up 6-7. I'm a little surprised that they, would go out and get another high school kicker back to back, because it just felt like from, even prior to Biaggi, it just felt like you go out and you get yourself a guy who's already been developed. And that seemed like the way to go. Now, are they scared off by the fact that Burnett, the last two kickers have had the injury problems? And I know a lot of people want to blame Biaggi for that with overuse and those kind of things. But from everything that we've heard, Burnett showed up here with an injury that he didn't necessarily, didn't fully disclose before he got here. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of unique kind of things that have happened in the last couple of years. I don't doubt that Biaggi can develop this guy. I think probably you're skeptical just because of the fact that, he went and got a guy who was supposed to be a big-time punter last year and turned him into more of a kicker right now. And then he went out and got another Australian punter and that kind of stuff. So
I haven't seen him develop anybody now
here, but that's because they've gone so deep with the portal guys.
Well, and the way that they handled it last year tells me that he doesn't understand it. Like that's where I'm at. So give it a couple of years, I suppose, if he's still going to be around, what are these guys going to look like, moving forward? But I feel like with Schmidt and this new kid that they just got, you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Like, what are you doing? These guys can kick off. They can punt. They're not really good at place kicking. Why'd you go get a place kicker? Like, that's my issue. Go get
We're off to a rousing start.
Go get a place kicker.
Vince is knee deep in kicking.
Why are you trying to, like, I realize all coaches think, oh, just give me the raw tools. I can turn them into something. Okay, cool. You got to have that. I get it. But why? There are hundreds of kickers out there that you can go get that are place kickers that aren't just big leg guys that can boom it out of the back of the end zone, and then you just pray they could put it between the uprights. Like that, I just don't understand the philosophy. I'll just say that.
Feels like you save a lot more time and energy by just continuing to go out and get guys out of the portal. And that would be what I would do if I were Notre Dame.
I would too.
It's less risky.
Yeah.
And
you don't have to develop them. Like they're already developed. Like just roll with it. And we wouldn't be having this discussion. Like when he's out there video recording guys in their form during the game, it's ridiculous.
Let's get off the kicking. I didn't mean to.
Brought it up.
Well, Joe actually brought it up.
Well, fair.
Day.
Fair.
So,
it made it through the screening process.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah,
how about that?
Right. That's right. Okay, from Tommy Guns. He says this is a bit of a we in, we out. Oh boy, we're going to go with some hypotheticals. It sounds like on this one. So Pittsburgh hires privately, he says, a 1-year rental coach, suffers a bunch of injuries to important players, and tanks the season. He's talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, not the Pittsburgh Panthers.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was very confused there.
Come next January of 2027, they announced the hiring of national championship winner Marcus Freeman. And with the number 1 overall pick in the 2027 NFL draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select quarterback CJ Carr from Notre Dame. They get their next 15 to 20-year head coach and their next 10, 12, or even 15-year starting quarterback in a one-off season. He says, I hate Pittsburgh. So are you buying this scenario that Marcus Freeman wins a national championship, the Pittsburgh Steelers, whoever they hire this year, ends up being a placeholder, a one-and-done guy? Marcus Freeman gets hired by the Pittsburgh Steelers a year from now and ends up in a package deal basically with CJ Carr as his quarterback.
Could that happen? Sure. Is that their plan? No way. Like, there's no way that an NFL franchise that's worth all the money that NFL franchises are worth is just going to completely, poop the bed for a year because they might get Marcus Freeman as their head coach, or they might get a guy like CJ Carr first in the draft. I don't see that. Now, could it happen? Like, is that a possibility that whoever they hire ends up being a disaster and they end up firing him and they end up with could all of those things happen? Sure. I just don't see that as a plan that they roll out, behind closed doors. I'm out on that.
Yeah, I'm way out on that because the Steelers they obviously have a long track record of hiring the right guy. They have, like, it's a family run business. The Rooneys have done, a great job over the years. Now, part of it is because they've hired the right guy, and those guys have all gone on, whether it's Chuck Noll and then Bill Cowher behind him, and then you just ended the Mike Tomlin era, which nearly lasted 2 decades. Those 3 guys combined, I think it is 57 or 58 years, 3 head coaches in that span. That's because the Rooneys have done a really good job of bringing in guys who they, who they felt confident were going to succeed, and they ultimately succeeded. So I can't see them like being so focused on Marcus Freeman that they're just going to hire some kind of placeholder guy like a Mike McCarthy, for example, who is, a Pittsburgh guy who's interviewing out there, and then they're just going to cut ties within 1 year and get Marcus Freeman and CJ Carr in a package deal. So I've got to be out on that as well. But by the way, like, look at the jobs since Marcus Freeman made his tweet about 2026 and running it back. Like, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, like 3 of the prized jobs, I think, if you were going to be a college coach looking to make a move to the NFL. The Steelers as an organization still up at the top,
Sure.
But like the other 2, because of the fact that they've got the quarterback in place, both the Ravens, even though they missed the playoffs this year, the Ravens and the Bills both have quarterbacks in place, perennial playoff teams, basically, again, with the exception of this year for Baltimore. But those jobs all came open, after Marcus Freeman decided that he was staying in college. So, like, when you look at primetime type opportunities that could be available next year, if he were to decide to make that move, don't think it's going to be quite as good. Like, the pickings are going to be a little bit thinner.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't see those kind of jobs coming up 2 years in a row. Tommy also says, agree or disagree, Notre Dame should add emeralds to the jeweled shillelagh for every year that Southern Cal refuses to schedule the series.
No,
I like that.
I don't. I'm out. I disagree. When you start playing them again, which will happen, you'll get all the wins and you'll be able to add as many as you need. It's okay.
Kevin is asking, how did some of these coaches get the right to vote in the coaches poll? Connecticut coaches voted Notre Dame number 25, while another coach left them out of the top 25. Even the Pitt coach had them at 23. I think you answered your question kind of there, or he said 13, not 23. But there's a lot of bias that these coaches have in their voting. Yep. And for UConn to put Notre Dame at number 25 is, one thing. It's not even the coach who was.
Yeah, it's the guy from Toledo.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't even.
Jason Candle is the UConn coach now.
Right.
So I don't know if he just has some MAC bias or whatever, but, they should just do away with the coaches poll. Most of the time, the coaches aren't even the ones doing it. It's a subordinate that's doing it. Like, the coaches poll means absolutely nothing. I don't even know why they still have it.
I don't either. There's zero need for it. Tommy also says, does it now just mean more in the Midwest?
It's always meant more in the Midwest.
3 consecutive national champions. Here's a juicy one from Purple. Oh, Purple and Gold. It is spelled.
Must be somebody from the Bayou.
Yeah, like if you were doing Bayou spelling. It's spelled gold, Geauxld, kind of like bow, basically. Okay, so from Purple and Gold. Regarding high school adolescent comedies, how would you rank the following? I'm curious how many of the following Vince has seen, even though he is more of a movie guy than a music guy. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Have you seen it?
Yep.
Breakfast Club.
A long time ago, but yes.
Okay. American Pie.
Oh yeah, that's my era.
That was
American
kind
Pie
of
is my era,
right?
Yeah.
16 Candles.
Yeah. Yes, but a very long time ago.
Okay. Dazed and Confused.
Oh yeah.
And American Graffiti.
I don't know that I've seen that. I know what it is. I know it, but I've never actually seen it.
That's 70s. So
right.
how do you rank those? Is what he wants to know.
I've never seen American Graffiti, even though I know it's one of the best movies ever made. I know that much about it. So I'm not going to rank American Graffiti because I don't think that's fair. The 80s high school adolescent comedies, it felt like they were all very similar to me when I would watch them.
It's because John Hughes made most of them.
Correct. So, yeah, and they had the same characters.
And 16 Candles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, okay, so this is obviously my personal ranking. So I'm going to go Dazed and Confused. Then I'm going to go American Pie. Then I will go Fast Times. Then I will go Breakfast Club, 16 Candles. That's my order.
All right. So you're putting 16 Candles at the bottom. See, I'm not, maybe it's because I'm a little bit older, like Dazed and Confused. I'm not as high on as a lot of people, but you're in your 40s. I'm in my 50s. So I think it makes sense. And like even American Graffiti it's like even a little bit before my time because
it's a young Harrison Ford in there.
Yeah. Young Harrison Ford and young Ron Howard, both in there, like still, I think that was right around the time Happy Days was starting, somewhere around there. So I would go, this is fairly close to my rankings, the way he wrote these out. I would go Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, American Pie, Dazed and Confused, American Graffiti. I would go that.
It's funny because the movies of your youth, you ranked above the movies of my youth.
Right.
Just the opposite of what I did.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
you took Dazed and American Pie and yours were higher up because from your youth.
But I think that makes sense because we're about a decade apart from each other, and that's about the distance of these movies. I will agree with Stymie on this one. Let me pull up his thing. He goes, if nothing else, Dazed and Confused is a clear-cut winner just for the soundtrack. I owned the Dazed and Confused soundtrack.
Really?
And there was nothing better than cranking down the windows and blaring the Dazed and Confused soundtrack because it was banger after banger after banger.
And they were mostly 70s songs, I think,
know.
Because the guy who made that movie grew up in the 70s.
Right.
Like, that was like one of those sort of based on, I think he is like the young kid, the pitcher in that movie. I think that is supposed to be him.
Yeah.
And then the next one, Everybody Wants Some. Did you ever see that one?
No.
That's it's him when he gets to college. He
really?
College, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the music from that movie is just, I mean,
I want to say wasn't like Slow Ride in it.
Oh yeah.
Like Little Fog Hat or something.
Yeah,
like
you pump out a little Slow Ride, and, oh yeah, that's summer 1998 for me in high school.
But I mean, that is where the all right.
Yeah,
that's where that came from.
Yeah, man, a young Ben Affleck beating freshman with a paddle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a great movie. It's a great movie, and those are the oldest looking seniors I've ever seen.
I know.
They look like they're 35 years old. And the freshmen actually look like freshmen. So it's like a 15-year age difference, 20-year age difference. It's hilarious.
It's what I love about them high school girls. They stay, we get older and they stay the same age. Yes, they do.
Yeah, it'd be a lot cooler if you did.
We're quoting movie lines, by the way, just in case anyone just turned up the radio.
Yeah, seriously.
Not a perv.
Working in a high school, that could backfire on me.
Yes, that's right. By the way, I'm also proud to say that anytime an adult actress shows up on TV during a football game, I have no idea who they are. Did you see that whole controversy?
No.
From the other day? Some adult actress who's also, I don't know if she's attending the University of Miami or attended the University of Miami. ESPN showed her in the crowd, and it is just blown up.
Really?
So
You're talking about, you say adult actress, not her age, but like the kind of movies that she does?
Yes, adult.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, those kind of movies.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be off my radar. I wouldn't know who that was either. But sadly, I did not watch a second of the national championship game because I was sick in bed. So
I watched more than a few seconds. I was on a bus leaving stores going to Hartford at the airport. So I watched a good chunk of the first half and then didn't see. I've not seen any of the second half. My wife actually recorded it for me, but I knew the result by the time I got home.
Yeah.
I saw the highlights and I'm like, well, that's all I needed.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yep. All right, it is Mailbag Day on the show with Vince D'Addario, Sean Stiers. We are answering listener questions about Notre Dame football and more, as you just saw / heard with the question that we just tackled there about teenage movies. So we will take a timeout. When we come back, more Mailbag is coming your way. Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Along with Vince D'Addario, I'm Sean Stiers. Notre Dame football mailbag question night on the show. Vince, I'm going to give you a gift, my friend.
Oh,
are you ready?
Another kicker question?
A couple questions just came in about assistant coaches. Anthony,
oh my,
says rank the assistant coaches on the current staff. Andre wants a grade for each Irish coach this year, and what grade you would need for them to be a national champion next year. So I want you to take out your camera, and I want you to take a picture of that.
Oh.
And next Tuesday, when I'm gone, I'm traveling to
City Battle, gambling.
I was watching some reels while we were in break. My bad.
Apparently so. Based on the conversation we just had, I'm glad that something other than that, like that was what came up on your phone. Take a picture of that. You and Jesse have a topic for next Tuesday.
Yeah, good call.
Because I feel like this is a full show. This is more than just
I agree.
3 minutes in a mailbag.
No, I agree. I'm on every show next week, I believe. So fire it up.
Really?
1 through 5.
Is Jesse off some days or?
Well, you're off Tuesday and Thursday, so I have to take over. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday is my norm.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about it that way. Well, lucky you.
I'm hope I kick this cold here by then.
I know. You're making up for time. Yeah, I'll be it's the first Cal Stanford swing for Notre Dame women's basketball. Men did it a few weeks ago, and we're going out. We're leaving Tuesday, so I'll be out there Wednesday. So I will be back with you on the show on Wednesday, and then, like you said, I've got the game Thursday, but I'll be back on Friday. So I'll be in the hotel a couple days next week.
That's the first thing I think that these schools have done that actually makes sense, like scheduling the two California teams back to back so that you could just stay out there. That actually makes sense, as opposed to other things that happen in conferences these days.
That's right. That's exactly right. Louisville's going to be out there at the same time as us because
opposite.
Just doing
okay.
So, yep. So we've got that coming up next week. But there's your topic for Tuesday.
I love it.
And Jesse won. I think that'd be a good topic for you guys to.
I appreciate that
on Tuesday. No problem. I'm here for you. See,
I know you are. My time of need.
Another one from Purple and Gold. Other than Miami and BYU, which Notre Dame regular season game are you most looking forward to next season?
Oh man, those are
for me. I think it's not Stanford. Yeah. SMU. I think I had Stanford on the brain. SMU, just because they were in the playoff a year ago. They were decent this past year. And I think that I just think that, like, I'm looking forward to that because it's not an opponent, obviously, that Notre Dame has played very often. So SMU coming to Notre Dame Stadium, I'm looking forward to that one.
Okay. I like that. Mine is going to be not based on how good they are, but based on getting an old rival back on the schedule. It's Michigan State. They come to Notre Dame next year early on, so it's the second home game of the year. I just like when Michigan State is on the schedule, and you go back-to-back with Michigan State and Purdue, getting those two teams back on the schedule. I like that, and my father-in-law went to Michigan State, so that's always fun. And so I'm looking forward to Michigan State.
All right. I like that. Coming back on the schedule, little historic rivalry, traditional rivalry for Notre Dame. Andre says he still wants my answer to that question.
It takes a little research.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll let you guys tackle it in full next Tuesday, and then maybe the next day I'll have like my own little abbreviated list with the grades.
There you go.
All right. Okay.
I dig it.
So we'll still do that next week. We'll do that as part of next week's Mailbag show. Salty wants to know if Notre Dame should have taken an experienced portal quarterback as a backup, or is it best to stick with the guys in-house?
I mean, they attempted. They brought some guys in. It was kind of on the list of things to do, but they didn't find the right fit. And I'm okay with that because you bring in an experienced portal quarterback, they're going to want to start, or they're going to want to have the opportunity to start. And so what you're doing is you're selling just the education, essentially, and the opportunity to be on the train for a national championship run. You know what I mean? Like, some people that would be great. Others, not so much. So it just depends on who you are. You'd have to find that perfect fit. They didn't find it. And so I'm okay that they didn't find it. They have three guys that are all really, really talented. They don't have a lot of experience. I get that. Somebody will emerge as the number two, and they'll be fine taking backup reps. And obviously, every starter that Notre Dame has, you hope that they don't get hurt. Same thing with the quarterback.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that they were doing it, but at the same time, just what you said, it would be great if you had an experienced guy as a backup. You obviously didn't have that. Yeah, you at least had Tyler Buckner, I guess, as an emergency policy. You also had Kenny Minchie, who, even though he had no real experience, he was talented enough that he pushed Carr in the quarterback battle. So you had that as a fallback. It would be great if you could get a guy with some experience to come in. But like you said, you're basically selling him on, you're going to be the backup. We're going to make this, we think that we're going to push for a national championship. You can be part of it, and then you can compete for the job the next year. but you're telling a guy who's already had some experience, you're going to be on the bench for a year. And the only way you're going to get out there is a worst case scenario, for Carr.
And who's to say, to be honest with you, also, in my opinion, is I wouldn't even be able to tell whoever that kid is, you're guaranteed to be the backup. Because what if they get beat out by one of these guys with a bunch of talent who's just younger?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you're just absolutely buried on the depth chart with no chance of getting into the game ever. So, that's a tough sell. Like I said, you'd have to really thread the needle with whoever it is that you're bringing in.
Carlos asks, if you had to choose to only watch one or the other for the rest of your life, are you watching the NFL or college football?
That's easy for me. It's college football. Even though college football is basically NFL light right now, and it's trending towards the NFL, it would still be college football for me.
Yeah, for me, it's the other way around. It would be the NFL. I came up, grew up watching much more NFL. It's like I watched the NFL every week because of where I lived and because the popularity, I don't think, of college football is what it is right now. It was my college football interest was very specific to Notre Dame. So I would, I would watch Notre Dame, but the consistency of the product to me is just better in the NFL year over year. And the fact that there's a lot more churn in college football just by the nature of the game, even though in these days guys are sticking around for 6 and sometimes 7 years. But you've got stars who are with their teams much longer in the NFL. And even if a guy signs a free agent contract, you still know who he is. And it's tougher in college football. And you don't have all this griping and moaning about the same things. You don't have people complaining about, well, who did you play? And, all these rankings and all this stupid BS that you have, how you get into the postseason. College football still has to figure that out. And to me, that's not a good thing. It gives us something to talk about here. And, I still love the college game, but if I had to pick one or the other to watch infinitely, it would be the NFL, just because there's a lot more consistency and you don't have a lot of the same political BS that you have in college football.
I believe me, it's so much cleaner to watch the NFL. You know what to expect. You know what you're going to get. You know what the offseason is going to be. You know what free agency is. You know there's a salary cap. I think hopefully college football is trending in that direction. But then it's just basically going to be NFL with college logos. You know what I mean? That's the way college football is trending.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to skip this kicker punter question here because we're
probably
going
good.
To get into more in, one, you've already gone off on it a little bit, but two, we are going to jump back into it in rapid fire a little bit. So
it's fair.
Vince will have another opportunity. We can kind of circle back to that if you really want to. ND Blitz asks, what teams do you think will overachieve on Notre Dame's schedule and be pretty good come game time? And who right now is looked at as an afterthought?
Well, man, who's going to overachieve? I mean, that if Purdue wins 4 games, are they overachieving? If Michigan State wins 5 games, are they overachieving? You know what I mean?
Same with Wisconsin, because somebody said, don't sleep on Wisconsin and that kind of stuff. And okay, maybe that's true.
I mean, I'm going to sleep on Wisconsin. I hate to say it.
I haven't heard about any big waves that Wisconsin's been making in the transfer portal.
So. Right. And what I know of the way that they recruit, I'm not impressed. So I don't have a whole lot of faith in what Wisconsin is doing. So in North Carolina, I mean, they were a disaster last year with Belichick and that whole thing. I don't know, Sean, overachieving. Miami was in the national championship game. Unless they go back, they underachieve. Right? I mean,
they've had a minimum got to be a playoff team.
Right. And they're going to have a completely different roster next year than they had this year, right? Mm-hmm. So, I think that they'll probably underachieve a little bit. SMU could overachieve in the ACC. I could see that being the case. Syracuse could overachieve if Steve Angeli can somehow manifest the type of football that he was playing before
I
he
think
got hurt?
that's my answer for the potential to be the biggest overachiever.
Okay.
Because in year one under Fran Brown, they were good. They were a bowl team. And then in year two, they were horrible, obviously. But part of the reason they were horrible is because of the fact that they were rudderless at quarterback. I really would have been curious to see what they would have been able to do if Angeli were still there. So if Angeli is healthy, I think he gives them the best chance to have another bounce back to where they were last year, in 2024 compared to 2025.
I could dig that. Look, Syracuse was having success last year with Angeli and everything.
Yeah, they beat Clemson.
They were still struggling at times too. They were turning the ball over a little bit too much, and they didn't have the weapons that they had in 24 in 25. So what is that going to look like in 26? I don't know, because I haven't studied the roster of Syracuse, right? So, but Steve Angeli is going to be fine for them. Like, as long as he's healthy and he's ready to go and he could get an offseason in him, they'll be fine. But I don't think that they'll be 24 Syracuse, but they'll knock somebody off that they're not supposed to beat, that kind of a thing. They'll lose to somebody that they're not supposed to lose to.
And look, by Syracuse standards, it's basically, if you are a bowl team, that's a pretty good season, right? Like,
yeah. Oh, I agree.
Johnny in the YouTube chat says Brian Smith on the Portal podcast says Wisconsin's doing very well in the portal. Okay.
Let's see what happens when they actually put it on the field, because they've had talent in the past and it hasn't really amounted to much.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got a coach who's going into his fourth year, because, like some of the national college football guys were saying this week about how, well, if Indiana can do it, there's hope for Minnesota. Like Minnesota's a team they kept throwing out there. And they're like, Minnesota's in better shape now than Indiana was when Curt Cignetti came in. Well, yeah, but you've also got a coach who's going into year 8 at Minnesota. Part of the change at Indiana was because of the fact that you had a completely different guy who does things completely different, obviously, than anyone else you've ever had. And he changed the message. And yes, He did bring some guys with him. And as much as people want to, poo-poo Indiana because of the fact, well, they spent all this money in the portal. Everyone's spending in the transfer portal. That's not exclusive to Indiana, just because you've got Mark Cuban writing checks. But he brought his guys with him, and they helped change the culture at Indiana. And that obviously goes a long way. That's not going to happen at a place like Minnesota or Wisconsin, for that matter, because Fickle now is going into it's either year 4 or year 5. Like, these guys have been around a while. Like, so you're not going, I just don't think at those kind of places, could they be incrementally better? Yes, but I don't think you're going to see drastic changes at places like that, even at a place like Illinois, because Bielema has been there for a few years now. I just don't see any of those kind of programs making drastic changes from one year to the next when you've got head coaches who have been there as long as they've been there already.
I think it's real simple. You can go spend all the money that you want in the portal. You can bring in as many guys as you want. You can do all the things. You can be like, well, if Indiana did it, we can do it. Like, that's fine. It's a great mantra to have. The one thing you don't have is Curt Cignetti. And I can not be a fan of him, but I can also respect the job that he's done. He's a really good coach.
Yeah.
And he did a really good job of putting together a staff who are also really
You're not winning a national championship at Indiana if you're not a really good coach.
100%. And none of the schools that you mentioned have Curt Cignetti as the head coach.
That's right.
So, you could try to do what he did, and in the manner that he did it, good luck to you. I would like to see you try, because right now IU is the only school, Sean, that has been able to be successful operating out of the portal the way that they did. With the massive amount of turnover and all of those things, IU is the only school that has been successful in back-to-back years.
Correct.
So,
look at TCU. Remember when TCU was in the national championship game? Just what was that, 4 years ago? It seems like forever ago at this point. But they had a first-year head coach that year as well, and he got them all the way to the national championship game. What has happened to them since then. It is a hard blueprint to sustain. But
Right.
again, I think one of the things that Cignetti does have in his favor, one, the fact that he just won a national championship. But again, that culture is now in place. So even though those James Madison guys are moving on, you have a set culture, and that's what you've got now going forward. So I think that is fairly significant as well for a place like Indiana.
Oh, it's extremely significant. One of the most fascinating things is going to be, can IU sustain it? Can they continue to be a power in the Big Ten, therefore a power in the national spotlight? Maybe they can, maybe they can't, but that's going to be a fascinating thing to keep an eye on over the next few years.
Not a professional Jay with a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, anyone trying to take the shine off what IU has accomplished is not very bright, in my opinion. Like you said, not a fan, but 100% respect. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. I can very much not like Kirk Zanetti and the way he handles himself and carries himself, but I see the product on the field. I see what he's done, and I can absolutely respect what he's done. The man went out and won a national championship.
It was easy to mock when he went on the game day show at Notre Dame and started talking about all the ranked teams that they've beaten, all that kind of stuff, and then Notre Dame kicks their butt. But a year later, look at, like, I think that I heard someone like on one of the shows on Sports Center or whichever it was, that like the last bowl game Indiana had won was the Copper Bowl, and look what they just did with the run that they just made. You know, like you can't doubt it at all. You can't knock it at all.
Their loss to Notre Dame was their last loss, and that was over a year ago. So, yeah.
We'll take a timeout, and then we'll come back to wrap up the mailbag portion of the show. Rapid fire coming up in hour number 2, because we've got Notre Dame men's basketball coming up in just a little bit. 7 o'clock tip-off, 6:30 pregame, Notre Dame and North Carolina, presented by First State Bank, committed to being a premier financial partner with hometown values. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com continues after this. Continuing Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. I'm Sean Stiers. He's Vince D'Addario. Some more mailbag questions to answer this hour. Salty wants to know, do you think this kind of goes with what we were talking about? Is Miami here to stay?
Well, right now, I think Miami falls into the category of build your team through the portal, have a big run, and then we'll see what happens. Like I said, I use the only one that has proven that they could do it year in and year out. I don't know that Miami can. They had a great run this year. Not taking anything away from them. But let's see what happens this year.
Well, and let's be honest. Unlike Indiana, Miami lost 2 games that they shouldn't have lost.
That's a great point.
That's what led to all the conversation.
That's a great point.
Playoff rankings and the head-to-head with Notre Dame and all that stuff. Because let's not forget, if they don't lose those 2 games, it's not even a question. And they're not the 10 seed. They are ranked. They're one of the top 4 seeds, most likely, because you have to think that the way they were playing, they would have won the ACC championship game, and none of this. And in that case, that's going to get Notre Dame in as well.
Right.
Like if Miami had taken care of its business and not lost those 2 games. So that's still a question for Miami. They still had some lapses, and that's what led to all this other stuff. And they are going to have to go out and get a transfer portal quarterback. They've done it 2 years in a row now. And are they going to be able to sustain the success they had? That's going to be a big question, because they have shown that they're more than willing to go out and invest in the portal. You know, other teams, obviously, Indiana did as well. But like, look at the teams that were in the Final Four this year: Indiana, Miami, Oregon, and Ole Miss. All 4 of them transfer portal quarterbacks. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Obviously, Notre Dame got to a national championship game with a portal quarterback last year. But there's always going to be some question, because there's still going to be, how does this guy fit? What are his strengths and weaknesses and all those kind of things? And so I think I think it's TBD. I think that they can at least be in the conversation every year, but there's always those lapses that Miami has had. And Notre Dame has obviously had some as well, but I think it's too soon to say at this point. ND Blitz, which coach do you think has the best odds of being at Notre Dame in 2027? Niele Ivey, Marcus Freeman, or Micah Shrewsbury?
Niele Ivey. I think she's got the best shot of those 3.
I agree, because I think right now, and obviously, now if you look at Marcus Freeman, it's not because anyone's going to get rid of him. The question is going to be, will he stay at Notre Dame past 2026, especially if they win a national championship? Does he want to coach in the NFL? Will he decide to make that move? I think it's a little bit, open-ended, up in the air right now. Micah Shrewsbury, with him, is like, he has shown that he can recruit. They're without their best player right now, so that's really tough for them. But you got to start winning games sooner.
You have to.
And that's where Shrewsbury's at right now. You just got to start winning some games.
Yeah, go ahead.
With Niele Ivey, look, I know fans are upset about this year. I keep saying it. This is a transition year. Don't make sweeping judgments based on this year. I know there are other fans who, would point to the last couple of years and say that they underachieved by not moving past the Sweet 16, but the recruiting is there. She's going to have another big class coming in next year, and they're going to augment it with some other transfers as well. So I think that this is ultimately going to be a blip, compared to what the long-term is going to be. Niele Ivey's at Notre Dame for the long haul, and she should be.
Yeah, completely agree. And the other 2 one would leave on his own, one would leave not on his own. Like, that's
Correct.
how I feel about the other 2. So.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's see if we can. Salty had a whole list there. Maybe you guys can pull out some of those on your short show tomorrow night. Chris, start bench cut. Ara Parseghian, Lou Holtz, Frank Leahy, with a caveat that they would have to coach the Irish in this era.
Oh, good
college football.
Well, I will start Lou Holtz because I know the most about him. Frank Leahy had a ton of success, obviously, when he was here, so I will bench him, and I guess I'll cut Era. I don't know. There's not really a good reason to cut any of these three, obviously.
Yeah, I
They're
know.
all
I mean, it's a tough choice. I
right.
think I would go Lou Holtz, then I would go Era, and then I would go Leahy, just because of the fact that you're asking about coaching in this era, and that order that I went, Holtz, Parsegian, Leahy, go basically backwards from this era, to a lot farther back, away from this era. So that's the way I would go. But they obviously all won national championships, so hard to argue with.
Yeah.
Again, the kicker stuff will come up next hour. Domer Gris wants to know favorite part about broadcasting Notre Dame women's basketball games and least favorite. Favorite is just big games and big moments in big games. It is absolutely the best, and there have been a lot of them, like especially when you can, call a big game and call a big moment and it goes in your team's favor, which a lot of them have, like beating UConn the last 3 years prior to this year, beating Texas at home, beating USC 2 years in a row, like all those, and obviously go farther back and calling a national championship, like when those crowds are in it, and the fact that you get to, because of basketball, it's so unique where you either get to sit, at least close to the crowd / the floor, and you kind of get to experience that those environments, like you're surrounded by the environment. All of that is pretty swell. Least favorite is dealing with a lot of logistics, honestly, that nobody thinks about, like Wi-Fi. It's pretty ironic because UConn considers themselves the basketball capital of the world. Like they say that, and like Gino, they've got a big video where Gino's up there and talking about we're the basketball capital of the world. Well, if you're the basketball capital of the world, shouldn't you have better than third world Wi-Fi in your building? Like that seems like that should be a thing to me. And literally, bar none, UConn, the self-proclaimed basketball capital of the world, has the worst Wi-Fi of any facility I have ever broadcast from. Probably the only other one that is close, if you remember when we were in Soldier Field a few years back. I don't know if it's any better since then, but so that's the worst part, just dealing with that kind of dumb stuff that you shouldn't have to deal with.
That's true. I'll never forget the stories you used to tell me about following Notre Dame baseball when they were back in the Big East.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah. Chris with another start bench cut. Led Zeppelin, ELO, Boston. Vince is totally out on this because these are all 70s bands. I would go ELO, to me, one of the most underrated rock bands of all time. Then I would go Led Zeppelin. Then I would go Boston.
I trust you.
Vince, yeah. Vince is like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
And the thing is, I probably heard their music, but I would never be able to associate their music with the band. So that's where I'm at.
Salty wants to know, in retrospect, did Notre Dame underestimate Coogan's skills and team value? I don't think they underestimated it. Vince and I, we talked about this in a rapid fire question a few weeks back, something similar to this. I do think that Notre Dame missed his fire and leadership, but he wasn't going to play because Ashton Craig was better. And so I don't think that there's nothing Notre Dame could have done differently, because when they evaluated the two players, they thought Ashton Craig was better, and that's ultimately why Pat Coogan transferred.
Yeah, I mean, he brought a lot to this team from a leadership standpoint. That's really hard to do when you're on the bench. And, I'm sure they valued his leadership, all of the things. There's no doubt about it. The bottom line is Ashton Craig is a better player, right? Now, Pat Coogan went and did great things over at IU, and you could argue that he was healthy the whole season. So, that makes him more valuable than Ashton Craig. Okay.
But again, you don't know that.
Exactly. When you're evaluating a roster, that's just not how that you don't have the futuristic view. You can't jump into the DeLorean and head to the end of the season and see who's going to make it to the end. bottom line is Ashton Craig's a better player than Pat Coogan. Pat Coogan's better than Ashton Craig when Ashton Craig can't play. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And that means that, Pat Coogan would have played the second half of Notre Dame's season. But he left because he wasn't going to play. That's why he went to IU. So it worked out great for Pat Coogan, and I think that's awesome.
Yep.
Good for him. He's a national champion. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Justin says IU enhanced Coogan, and I would agree with that as well. I think that his personality, his mentality went very well with all those things that we talked about with Cignetti, just in terms of culture. And he was a great culture fit. And he was obviously, he continued that leadership at IU. But, yeah, there's no way that Notre Dame can second guess itself.
No, and I don't second guess the decision that they made either. I don't. I've watched the film. I watched how both of these guys play. It's just a fact is a fact. And again, you can't see into the future. So they made the right decision, and it ended up being the right decision for everybody.
Let's take a break. When we come back, it is rapid fire time. A lot of stuff that we're going to get to. We'll hear some of Marcus Freeman's comments from his game day appearance. If we have some time, a little Paul Feinbaum from talking about IU. That's all coming up. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. It is hour number 2 of Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com, and that means it is rapid fire time. Vince is ready to pick it up.
Woo! I'm always ready to pick up what you're laying down.
I have to say, someone in the chat said it. I'll just echo it. You look miserable over there.
Well, I don't hide how I feel, I guess. I was hoping by now I would feel better. Like, I really leaving my coworkers hanging out to dry at school. And it's like, but literally there's 6 people living in our house since Dylan is at school. 4 of us have this cold.
Oh man.
And it's miserable. And it's 2 adults, so we're like,
oh man, it's more miserable.
It's brutal, man.
Yeah, not good. Yeah. Not good. Okay, so Notre Dame announced today that its game against BYU at BYU is going to be played on October 17th. That, of course, is traditionally the spot on the schedule where either USC or Stanford has played every year. At Notre Dame, by the way, but this is going to be at BYU. As of now, the only remaining games on Notre Dame's 26 schedule that don't have a date are home games against Stanford and SMU and a road game at Syracuse. And as of now, Thanksgiving weekend is also open. So what do you think the Irish do? Who do you think they end up playing to end the season Thanksgiving weekend?
The odds are telling us, Sean, that, Notre Dame is going to be at home over Thanksgiving weekend, which not sure how the wife's going to feel about that. But, here we are with a definite possibility that could be the case. If it's a home game, it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter who the team is because it's a home game.
Yeah.
And if they're away, they're going to Syracuse.
It's been a long time since they've
played
a home game Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, it really has. And if they're away, that means they're going to be at Syracuse in a dome. So I guess that really doesn't matter from a weather standpoint, although getting in and out could be complicated, I suppose. So I think they're going to end up having a home game. That's what I think is going to happen.
It kind of seems that way. I'm curious. I think Stymie might have misheard it because he says Stymie says he SMU because BSPN, he says, will somehow dictate it. But the SMU game is a Notre Dame home game.
Right. So that's an NBC thing.
I think they're going to end up going to Syracuse. That's my guess.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
I do wonder how much they want a home game Thanksgiving weekend, like Notre Dame. Now, some of it would be
no students.
Yeah, exactly. Now, everyone goes home for Thanksgiving, but again, Los Angeles, it's Palo Alto, like much easier, I think, to put on probably, a home game Thanksgiving weekend, but.
Well, nobody goes to their games anyway, so
exactly. Yeah. So I think it's going to end up being at Syracuse. That's my guess.
Against the Fighting Steve Angelis. They were supposed to be the last home game of the year, remember? So
that's
the last game of the season. Why not?
That's true. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be a lot different, though, without that trip to either Northern or Southern California that Notre Dame has been used to for so long. So the NCAA has granted Notre Dame defensive tackle Jason Onye with a 6th season of eligibility. Scale of 1 to 10, how important is this for the Fighting Irish in 2026?
Oh, this is a 9.5. I think this is big. They went into the portal season with defensive tackle being one of the biggest question marks on the team. And what they did in the portal, and now you get Onye back, I think it's one of the strengths of the team. I really do. So he just adds to the stability and the depth of a defensive line that I now think can challenge for one of the best defensive lines in the country. So it's massive.
Yeah, if you don't get him, there are still some big questions. But you get Onye, who, like, you look at how he was playing at the end of the season. That's like one of these flashes over the course of his career that it's like, man, Onye's playing like that, like if you can get that, and I think it kind of, get your hopes up even more that you could get him back. And now you do get him back. So I'm right there in that 9 range as well, because now you've got him, you've got the 2 transfers, coming in. You've got Hughes coming back as well. You've got Armel Mukum, obviously, coming back as well after he dipped his toes in the water of the transfer portal. So then you've got Sevillano as well. You've got a ton of guys who can play. You want to be great. Like, look at the two teams playing in the national championship game. Two great teams up front, and having those guys and specifically Onye keep, being able to get him back, they're going to be very stout up front. And it's pretty exciting to think about where this team can be defensively now.
Got to be strong up the middle. And they
got the linebackers. You got the secondary.
Yep.
This is a huge piece for them up front. Absolutely. Okay, Vince's favorite topic.
Yes.
Kickers. Fill in the blank. Notre Dame adding kicker Micah Drescher to its incoming 2026 recruiting class is blank.
It is a question. I'll just say it's a question. Like, it adds competition. There's no doubt about that. It adds competition for the kickoff guy. It adds competition maybe at the punter position, and that's great. You want to add competition to the room. I have no problem with that. I just feel like they had his profile on the team already. That's my biggest thing. They had his profile on the team already in Eric Schmidt. And so we'll see what happens. Competition could breed success, and so I hope that's the case. And I just wish they would have gotten an actual kicker out of the high school ranks as opposed to a kickoff guy. But that's just me.
Yeah, because now I was a little surprised. It is as good as he is supposed to be. You've got the Purdue guy from the portal. Obviously, you've got the Australian punter, but then you've got Schmidt and you've got this guy Drescher, who are very similar profiles. And it felt like you already had Schmidt. So what do you need another guy for, who's only a year younger than him, than Schmidt. So yeah, I was a little confused by it, but at the same time, if they feel like, maybe this can be their guy of the future, okay, because Scaife, the Australian punter, he's got 4 years of eligibility, so you expect him to be around for a while. So it feels like there's obviously not a need for now, but at the very, maybe he can come in and compete as well, and like to have another leg. So maybe you don't end up with some of these issues with overuse and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a wait and see, but I would say, my fill in the blank head scratcher probably would be my.
I think that's fair. I would have personally liked them to go get just an actual place kicker, so there would 2-year difference between Porath and then this kid. And then you don't have to use him right away, that kind of a thing. And then Porath is your kicker for 2 years. And then you could bring this kid in as a junior. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been a nice gap between the two. And look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this kid will be a really good kicker, a place kicker. I know he could boot the ball. I know he can kick it far. I know he can kick it deep. I just worry about the accuracy. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Seeing Joe is asking again, Joe is asking about it in the first hour. Can any of these guys get developed? I'm not doubting the the developmental skills of Biaggi. I think maybe the way you and Joe are. I just don't think that he has had to do it in the time that he has been here at Notre Dame. Like, if you look at his track record before he got here to Notre Dame, like, kicking was supposed to be sort of one of his specialties, one of his strengths. So I don't necessarily doubt it, but he's just got to show that he can do it.
And to your point about overuse during practice, I think that's a really important piece of this. Now, look, we're not at every practice, so I don't know what kickers are doing and all of that. But when we're there, they go off to a field all by themselves, and all they do is kick the entire practice.
Right.
Now, I would hope that would not be the case, every practice that they're at and every practice that we're not at. And I don't know, so I'm speculating. But that's how injuries occur, is overuse. And so bringing in an extra leg and all of those kinds of things, I have no issue with that part of it. None whatsoever. And I think they do need to look at how they operate in practice and things like that. Like, don't just send those guys over just to kick for 2 hours, because I don't think that's a good – that's not good. That's overuse. But again, I don't know what they do during the regular season because we're not there. So
yeah. Marcus Freeman was a guest analyst on College Game Day on ESPN before the national championship game Monday. And so he's sitting up there with the regulars, and they all kind of went around the table asking Marcus Freeman, lobbing some different questions at him. Before we hear one of Marcus Freeman's comments, here's Nick Saban with his question to Marcus Freeman.
After two really disappointing losses to start the season against some really good football teams, you did a phenomenal job with your team, and your team took care of business and won all the rest of their games in dominant fashion toward the end of the season. So I said after those first two games, you deserve to be in the playoffs. That's a playoff team. You didn't make it. The system didn't allow you to make it. How did you handle that with your team? Because, that's really tough. I've been in that situation before, so I know you did a great job with it, but I'd like to know how you handled it.
So before we hear Freeman's answer, that's the question. That is blank, Vince.
That's a good question. And it's a question that comes from a guy who, has obviously been in those shoes before. He's obviously a very accomplished head coach. And I think this is a coach picking another coach's brain, which I dig. I like that.
I thought it was interesting myself. I thought it was a little disingenuous for old Nick Saban to sit there, like the question that he asked, how did you deal with it? Okay, that was good. But the whole buttering Marcus Freeman up with I said you were a playoff team. Well, you didn't seem to think that when you were on ESPN saying, well, Miami kicked Notre Dame's butt. It didn't really feel like.
Well, and he also had the crimson red on and was pushing for Alabama, just to throw that out there.
And yes, exactly. So, I like the actual question, but the precursor to the question felt like a little bit much to me from Nick Saban, because that's not what he was saying on ESPN when they were comparing all the resumes and justifying this and that. And it was obvious that Nick Saban was stumping for, his old boys down there in Tuscaloosa beforehand. So I found it a little bit, like the actual question that he asked, how did you deal with it? Okay, I like that. But the other part that led him up to that, it's like, doesn't feel like that's what you were really saying there, Uncle Nick. So
Uncle Nick. He's just too worried about his Verbo house.
That's right. That's right. So that was the question from Saban. Here's Marcus Freeman's actual answer to it.
I think at first when you find out, you're disappointed, right? Because you get in front of your team and you don't have the answers for why, right? And this was never a situation where we deserve to be in the playoffs in front of Miami or Alabama or anything like that. This was, okay, the rankings has shown if we continue to win in the fashion we're winning, it looks like we're going to make the playoffs, and we didn't. And so the day we found out, the response was one thing, but after 24 hours, the ability to get in front of your team and say, you know what, we have to move forward. And I remember our first team meeting we just had for 2026, my message was, it's up to us to leave no doubt. We left doubt. We lost by 4 or 5 points the first two games. We left out. It's our job to make sure we leave no doubt.
Yeah. Okay, so what did you think about Freeman's response, Vince?
That was a very calculated response. He knew he was going to get the question. But at the end of the day, I absolutely agree with him. You can't leave doubt. You can't allow a room full of people to make the decision for you on paper. Leave no doubt. Win one of those games, and you're in, and you're not having this conversation, and you're in the locker room during this time, not on the set. So win the game. Just win the game.
I think my only question about leave no doubt is it going to be on a t-shirt? Does Under Armour have it trademarked? Is it ready to go? Because it feels like Marcus Freeman has set us up for, like, leave no doubt at this point is definitely the
How is that not the mantra for 26?
Yeah,
like that's the team motto.
He just told you that that's what he talked about with the team right afterwards. He mentioned it at the press conference that he had last week. Was that last week? Is it really only been a week ago since he had that press conference?
It was last Wednesday.
Yeah, it was. It was a week ago today. He mentioned it there, and now he's getting it out there on ESPN. Like, leave no doubt is it. Like, if Under Armour is smart, they're going to get this out on a t-shirt, and they're going to make millions off the slogan.
I'd buy one.
I think anybody would right now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd ask for Notre Dame one for free first, and then I'll buy one.
I mean, I know that you would buy that over the Bend shirt. So
that's a fact. That is a fact.
All right, here is Pat McAfee, Vince's favorite guy, with a friendly prompt for Marcus Freeman as well.
Crystal ball and you fight. What happens, you think?
I just turned 40, and
Young buck.
I'm done. I retired.
Oh, yeah, we don't do any fighting.
I'm retired. Alleged.
Not even too soon.
Had you seen or heard that?
Who did he say he was going to fight or not fight? I mean,
so McAfee asks him if he fought Mario Cristobal, who would win?
Gotcha.
And so Freeman says, I just turned 40.
Yeah.
I'm done with fighting. And so McAfee, the McAfee was like, oh, so we don't fight, kind of. And I'll be honest, it took me a minute to kind of, get what he was alluding to, with the whole thing that the wrestling tournament and the whole thing. And I think Saban had a look on his face like, I have no idea what anyone is laughing about right now.
Yep. Because Saban's probably not on social media. Let's be honest. He's not.
Yeah.
So he probably had no idea what happened to Mishawaka High School. But I mean, are we tossing this around as to who would win? Because I think Marcus Freeman's faster.
He's definitely faster. He's a little more stealth. Yeah. Like I just thought it was I was a little surprised that McAfee lobbed it at him. But again, I don't know if
it's McAfee
specifically what he was alluding to.
No,
I'm not going to have time to play this last cut, so we're going to have to. It's a little bit too long. It was a fine bomb cut.
We'll be back on Friday. We got time.
Yeah, we definitely will. By the way, Irish for Life 99 says Wisconsin, Lambeau Field, IB meetup. Who's going?
Listen, all of a sudden, that's right around the corner.
It is.
And you are now in a position to have ad guys working for you. So
I'm gonna pitch our long held
yeah
RV plan here.
Let's do it. I'm in.
There's plenty of time to get that ready to go. I feel like it's time. The time is now to make that happen.
I agree. I mean, we are in the RV capital of the world. Okay. There's no reason one of these RV companies doesn't want to just hitch a ride with.
I think so. I mean, think about it. We get the RV through, whatever RV company here around town. The gang drives to Lambeau Field.
Yep.
We parked there we either go up Thursday night or drive up Friday. Jim here on Sports Radio WSBT has his Leprechaun Lunch show at noon on Fridays. We've got our show at 5:00 Friday night, and then there is a game day show Saturday as well. It feels like the perfect opportunity to get maximum exposure for everybody.
I'm just saying.
So
just saying. Makes too much sense.
I completely agree with that. All right, we got Notre Dame men's basketball coming up next. Notre Dame at North Carolina on the Notre Dame Radio Network. Tony Simeone has the call. It's presented by First State Bank, committed to being a premier financial partner with hometown values. Pregame coming up, tip-off at 7:00. Vince, I hope you're feeling better very soon.
Me too.
I'll be out tomorrow with the Notre Dame women's basketball game when the Irish host Miami tomorrow night. Vince, have a good one. Talk to everybody. He'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back on Friday. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.